Jayaji, it's such a pleasure to finally meet and talk to you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
It's my pleasure.
I have watched your political career over the years. It's been a very brave journey. More dramatic than any film script, hasn't it?
It's been a tempestuous life and career.
You've been through trials, triumphs, crises. How is it that you've never shown fear or anger or any other emotion? And I know you must have them.
Yes, of course. I'm human like everyone else. I do experience emotions, and I wouldn't be normal if I didn't experience feelings of anger and other emotions. But when you are a leader, you learn to control your emotions. You learn not to show them openly. You have to.
So is it necessary to appear tougher than one actually is to be accepted as a leader in this patriarchal world of politics?
I've never consciously tried to appear tough. I suppose whatever I have done, my reactions or actions have made me appear tough.
You always have this very serene, calm exterior. I want to know what lies behind it.
I keep my emotions to myself. They are not for public display. I have never lost my temper in public.
No.
I've never wept in public.
How do you manage to do that?
I have a lot of willpower, a lot of self-control.
But do you think politics has made you tougher?
Of course, yes. I wasn't like this at all.
We're not born tough.
I don't think anyone is born tough. I think experiences shape you and life molds you as you go along. When I started out, I was very shy, terrified of meeting strangers. I'm a person who hates the limelight.
Isn't that surprising?
It's very surprising. I have been propelled by fate into two high-profile careers, both not of my choosing.
But let's go back. Do you think your childhood has a bearing on your present life and your present personality?
None at all. I was brought up in a very traditional way by my grandparents. I was born into a Tamil Brahmin family, an Iyengar family. And I was brought up in a typical orthodox way.
Your father died when you were 2.
Yes.
And he had gambled away the family fortune?
Not exactly gambled away. He was a gentleman of leisure.
Okay.
My grandfather, that is my paternal grandfather, was the palace surgeon in the court of the Maharaja of Mysore. And he had built up a great fortune. And if he had been alive, probably, my mother wouldn't have had to act in films, and neither would I. But my father squandered away the family fortune.
So your mother was a widow at the age of 20?
Yes.
That's very hard.
My mother was married when she was just 11 years old.
And so she was a widow at the age of 20 with 2 children?
Yes.
And beautiful?
She was a very beautiful lady.
It's a very difficult position for a woman.
Yes.
At the age of 20. She had to go out and work to support you both, didn't she?
Yes. She was working in the secretariat at Bangalore.
And how did she subsequently enter films?
I had an aunt, my mother's younger sister, who was a very bold and adventurous sort. She first became an air hostess. That was considered something very daring.
Very daring in those days.
Very daring and adventurous in those days. And after that, she became an actress. She entered films. So she came to live in Madras. Then she invited my mother to come and live with her. And mother thought it would give her an opportunity to put us in good schools, my brother and myself, here in Madras. So she came here actually to keep house for my aunt. Since my aunt was already working in films, a number of producers and directors used to come home to see her. So they happened to see my mother. They were struck by her looks. So a mother received a number of film offers, and that's how she came to films.
When you were in Bangalore, your mother was in Madras. You were about 4 years old.
Let me explain. I was 2 when my father died, and at that time we were in Mysore. I was born in Mysore. Then we came to Bangalore to live with my maternal grandparents. Then when I was 4, the family shifted to Madras. And here mother became so busy working in films that my brother and I were left entirely to the care of servants. So she thought this was not a healthy atmosphere to grow up in. So from the age of 6 to 10, for 4 years, I was in Bangalore living with my grandparents and separated from my mother.
Was the separation hard?
I missed her terribly.
Did she visit you often?
She visited me whenever she could, but that wasn't very often. And I remember when I was about 5, she'd come to Bangalore to see us. And I always used to cry whenever she left. So she used to put me to sleep. And I always used to sleep clutching her sari pallu in my hands, the edge of her sari. I'd wind it round my hand and go to sleep.
Tight like this?
Yes, very tight. So my mother found it impossible to get up and leave. So leaving the edge of her sari in my hand, she used to gradually unwind the sari from herself, and she used to make my aunt drape the sari around herself and lie down beside me so that I wouldn't notice her leaving. And then, of course, when I woke up and found that mother was gone, I used to cry and cry and cry, and I would be inconsolable for about 3 days. Then, of course, there was school and other activities, so I'd get over it. But I remember that during all those 4 years I was in Bangalore, I was pining for my mother every minute, every second.
So it does. You see, this is where I say, you may say that the childhood doesn't have a bearing on one's life. Psychologically, Georgie, it does.
Perhaps.
It is the love one longs for, and it carries through in life because you've never had enough of it. You know what I'm trying to say?
I understand.
Yeah.
When I look back on my life, I seem to have spent so little time with my mother. I've never really been satiated with the kind of love I expected and wanted and needed from my mother because there simply wasn't enough time. I did come to Madras to live with her from the time I turned 10, from 10 to 16. But then mother was so busy. She used to leave in the mornings before I woke up. She used to leave for work. And most days she would come back only after I'd gone to sleep. I remember once I'd won the first prize for an English essay I'd written at school. And I was so anxious to show this essay to her and show her the prize I'd won. I stayed up long past my usual bedtime. It was, I think, midnight when mother came back, and she found me sleeping on the sofa in the living room. So she asked me what I was doing there, why I wasn't in my bedroom. Then I was holding the prize I'd won and my notebook with my essay in my hands. I was clutching them. So I showed them to her. So that is one of my treasured memories.
You were studying in a convent, weren't you?
Yes.
Would you say perhaps those were the only normal years you've had?
Yes, indeed. When I look back on my life, the days I spent at school were the happiest, most normal days of my life. I first went to Bishop Cotton Girls High School in Bangalore and later to Presentation Convent Church Park in Madras.
Tell me about your school days. Did you have the normal schoolgirl dreams and crushes and things like that?
Yes, indeed. I remember having a great crush on Nari Contractor.
The cricketer?
The cricketer. I used to go to test matches just to watch him. And I had another great crush on Shami Kapoor.
He'll be delighted. And who else?
No one else that I can...
collect photographs of?
Yes, I did. I used to collect photographs of Contractor and Shami Kapoor, and I used to be very fond of Nutan.
Yes. Did you ever get to meeting Shami Kapoor?
I don't think we've ever met, no.
Sometimes it's better to leave one's fantasies as they are, don't you agree?
Yes. One of my favorite films even today is Jungli, the Yahoo song.
What is your all-time favorite song?
I can't think of just one, there are so many.
Tell me some of them.
There is a song in Do Aankhein Barahat, "Ae Malik Tere Bandhe Hum." That's one of my favorites.
Can you sing it?
Not now, I'm out of practice.
Even one line? Just hum it even.
It's ages since I've sung. Ae Malik Tere Bandhe Hum. I don't remember the other lines. That's one of my favorites. Then, Aaja Sanam, Madhur Chandni
Oh, I love
Hum,
that.
Chori Chori.
Can you sing that? I'll sing it with you.
I'm out of
I'll sing
practice.
it with you.
आजा सनम मधुर चांदनी में हम तुम मिले तो वीरानी में भी आ जाएगी बहार झूमने लगेगा आसमां झूमने लगेगा आसमां कहता है दिल और मचलता है दिल मेरे साजन ले चल मुझे तारों के पास लगता नहीं है दिल यहाँ लगता नहीं है दिल यहाँ. One of my favorites.
But tell me, is it true that your school friends used to mock you about your mother being an actress?
Some of them, yes. They used to do that.
You've said it gave you a terrible inferiority complex at the time.
Yes, of course. You see, these were girls who came from the upper crust of society, born into wealthy families. And though I was born into a wealthy, aristocratic family myself, those days I didn't know how to retort, how to talk back. Those days I was rather tongue-tied. If anyone humiliated me or insulted me, I used to go home and cry. But today I'm very different. Today, I give as good as I get or even more than I get.
But tell me,
But it is true that some of my schoolmates, my classmates, used to mock at me because mother was an actress. And I think they did that because she wasn't a leading lady. If she had been a topmost star, one of the leading stars of her time, I think they would have probably envied me. But mother was a character actress. She used to play mother's role, sister's role, so probably that was the reason why they looked down upon me.
children can be very cruel.
They can be, they were.
They were very cruel.
Yes, but probably subconsciously I tried to make up for that by always standing first in class. I was a brilliant student. I stood first in every subject constantly. And when I left school, this is one of my most cherished memories. I won the award for the best outgoing student of the year. That is